Hello everyone, we are People in Action. Today we are talking about something that we really need to know, which is so important to help to solve our problems. It is an organization called Citizen UK. With this organization, it will be possible to see the beginning and the ending of our issues solved. Now, we will see how it works and how it can help us. We have invited Claire, and I ask you to introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name's Claire and I am a community organiser for Citizens UK, but I work specifically in Southwark.
Okay, so my first question for you is, what is community organizing?
So community organising, has been done since the beginning of time in all shapes and forms all across the world. But our particular type of community organising comes from the States. In 1950s, there was a guy called Saul Alinsky who basically wrote up and professionalized this form of community organising that we use. And he drew on his experiences of organising in the civil rights movement in America and other kind of drew on other movements that had happened throughout history. But basically, the idea and the methodology is about developing people within communities. So you go to institutions, so schools, churches, charities, any place where people gather, and you train people up to become community leaders to take on issues that they care about, that their communities care about, and to take action, to negotiate, and ultimately make change on those issues that affect them. And it's slightly different from other models of making change because we really concentrate on leadership development, and the people that we work with is where we start, and we build around them. And so once they have done what we call a listening campaign, where they go out and listen to the community, they will pick what issues are most important. So I don't decide the issues, I don't do the negotiations, I just support people to be able to do that for themselves. So we can work on a whole range of issues that affect people.
Thank you for your answer, Claire. The next question is, what is Citizen UK?
So Citizens UK is an organisation that does community organising, that particular methodology that I talked about. But we specifically work in the UK. So it's just a community organising charity. And our founder, who set it up about 35 years ago, was a guy called Neil Jamieson, who brought the kind of methodology from a training that he took in America by people that were trained by Saul Alinsky, who kind of wrote up this whole methodology.
Okay, thank you. Now my partner Zeynep will continue with the interview. Thank you, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Hi.
I have some questions for you. My first question is, why does Citizen UK use community organizing?
I guess we use community organising because we think it's one of the most effective ways of making change. And I think for us, starting with people is really important. And often in movements, we aren't starting with the people who are really affected by the issues. And sometimes that can mean that we're kind of disconnected and trying to solve a problem that we maybe don't really understand, or people in government are trying to solve a problem that they can't really understand because they don't experience it. So I think it's that we have a kind of a real strong belief in democracy, but the way that democracy happens at the moment, for me personally, maybe I can't speak for all of Citizens UK, but for me personally, I think that democracy is somewhat broken, and I think a lot of people feel that. So for us, it's really important that we're getting people to engage with their rights and getting people to engage with the decisions that ultimately will affect their lives. So I think that's why a lot of us tend towards the community organizing methodology rather than traditional campaigning. And actually, there's lots of ways to campaign, so that's a bit of a broad term. But I think it's that want and need to develop people and to teach them how to engage with democracy beyond a particular campaign that we might be running at that time. We want to equip people to be able to continuously hold politicians and decision makers to account, and that's fundamentally really important to us.
Thank you. I will ask my second question. When it was created and who funded it and why?
So I said a little bit, but it was a guy called Neil Jameson, and I think it started 35 years ago, maybe 37. And I think he just wanted to set up a kind of solid community organizing charity, because I think at the time that he was starting Citizens, there maybe weren't many community organizing charities in the UK. So it's a really strong tradition in the States, but not so much here. So I think he saw that gap, and when he had his training in the States, he felt like it would be a really good thing to set up here.
Okay. My third question is, Claire, for you. Do you work only in London or nationwide?
So I primarily work locally. So I work in a borough. So I have 29 institutions that I oversee in a borough. But I will kind of do London-wide work. So at the moment, we're preparing for a pre-election campaign with thousands of people across London. And so I'm kind of feeding my local work and the local leaders into that London-wide work. And then also we do have national campaigns that some of our leaders in Southwark are working on. So that's, even though I don't oversee London or across the UK, I oversee Southwark, but some of our leaders from Southwark will work on campaigns on those different levels.
Okay. What do you do?
So my main job, as I mentioned a bit earlier, is to train and facilitate people to be able to listen, take action, negotiate, plan, strategize. So my prime goal is to basically find people. So I'll go into institutions like schools, churches, and find the people that really care about justice or a particular issue. Have one-to-one conversations with them where I find out who they are, what they care about, what they're interested in, and then I'll basically take them on a journey, or we go on a journey together, and I try and find opportunities where they can grow and develop. I'll run trainings in their institution, or I'll get them to come on our trainings that we have locally or regionally or nationally, and basically just be there for, like, as a support and guide. And so I might give advice to campaign teams. I'll connect people up, build kind of a lot of relationships across those different institutions, so that I can kind of say, well, you should speak to this person if you really care about this, and speak to that person if you really care about this. So yeah, that's my main goal, is kind of spotting talent and spotting people and helping them to grow.
Yeah. My last question, Claire. What are your main objectives?
So I guess I have the objectives of the organization, which I probably kind of talked about. But I think one of my personal objectives is, I guess I want to get to the point with our borough that we organise where there are kind of 20 volunteer organisers, 20 people that have been kind of really, really developed so that they can go off and organise other people, they can run trainings, they can, because ultimately that is how we build power. So one of our main objectives is to build power. And you do that through building relationships and bringing people together. And so I guess I want to get to a point where, you know, these 20 volunteer organisers are just kind of, you know, doing things within their institutions, running campaign meetings, and so that more and more the alliance of institutions can operate kind of on their own with guidance and support and from the community organizer. And also I'm really passionate about young people, and I really feel that schools in particular should be places of learning about democracy and understanding how you engage with it. So I would love to see kind of more schools getting involved and really kind of drill into how do we make community organising really, really effective in schools.
Okay. Thank you for your time for us. And I will pass to my classmate, Antonio.
Hello, Claire.
Hi,
My name is Antonio, and I have some question for you. My first question is, what communities do you organize?
So, like I said, I organise young people, I organise parents in a parent group, I organise teachers, priests, parishioners, all different kind of sections of the community. And then because I'm in Southwark, which is in southeast London, there is a big West African population here, mainly Nigerian, big Latin American population. So I guess, and then kind of people who are born here as well. So yeah, those are the communities that I mainly work with.
What kind of problems do you take action on Southwark?
So in Southwark, we have lots of different campaigns. Let's see if I can remember them all. Mental health, living wage, immigration, housing, regeneration, ESOL, the most important, especially on this podcast. Yes, I think that. Oh, and youth safety.
Next question is, how do you work with individuals, with organization, or with identity or geographical communities?
So yeah, so we work geographically. We don't work based on identity. We work, but obviously, you know, the kind of institutions that we work with dictate the kind of people that we work with. So we really try and have a variety of institutions, really mixed. So the reason that we don't just work with schools or don't just work with churches or don't just work with mosques is because we want to have a diverse alliance, not only because it's really good to build relationships with diverse groups and to kind of strengthen communication between those different groups, but also because we organize geographically in a neighborhood. Basically, if you want to have enough power to win things, you've got to have the local mosque on your side, the local church on your side, and the school or the synagogue. So we work with a broad range of people, but geographically.
How many wins have you had in SODAC nationwide? Can you name some of them?
Yes, of course. Actually, that's quite timely because last night or yesterday, we got news that or the day before yesterday, we got news that we've just won a campaign that has been going on for a few years to make misogyny a hate crime, which is a national campaign. So everybody in the organisation was really excited about that, and people put in a lot of hard work. So that was really great to hear. And then I guess our biggest kind of national campaign is the living wage. So that is about getting more money to workers. And we work with businesses basically to give the living wage. So I think it's over £1 billion that we've managed to get from workers from organizations and businesses into workers' pockets. And then I guess London-wide, I'm really hoping in the next month, so in 6 weeks, we'll have our big assembly that we were meant to have last year, where we're going to be talking about climate, housing, youth safety, migration, and a whole range of issues. And so I'm really hoping that we're going to win some really meaningful things in that assembly. And then locally, we've done a bit of work around trying to get the police to stop posting images of knives on social media to improve relationships between young people and the police. So we won that about a year ago. And yeah, I'm hoping that if you ask Adela in 6 weeks, or if you come to the assembly, that you'll be able to experience some wins.
My next question is, what is the most important in community organizing?
I think different people would say different things. I think overall, we would say building power is the most important thing. But for me, like, the thing that I find most important is developing leaders. And I guess I feel that because policies and campaigns will come and go, but ultimately what you teach people and then what they go off to do in their lives is really important. And I think it's about shifting culture of engaging with politics and kind of letting that ripple out. And I think it's also the most important to me because ultimately I do this out of a love for humans. So when I see humans flourish and kind of realize their power, for me, that's really gratifying.
How many organizations do you work in SODAC nationwide, and which kind of organization?
So in Southwark, we have 29, London 250, and across the UK 450. That might have changed slightly, but that's the last numbers that I knew. And like I said, all places where people gather: synagogue, church, mosque, school, charity, any organization can join.
Hello, Claire.
Hi.
I'm Yusuf, and I have some preoccupation to ask you. The first one will be, why does London need a community organization?
I think because there are a lot of issues in London. I mean, there are a lot of issues all over the country, so this is the same across the country. But I think there's a lot of problems in terms of inequality. So I think that there are very, very, very rich people in London and very, very, very poor people. And so I think there needs to be a lot of work done on trying to balance that. And I think there's a lot of people that feel really disempowered in London, and a lot of people that feel disillusioned because they see all of this wealth in the middle of the city, and it doesn't seem to be trickling down to anybody. So I think that's why in London particularly, I think we've got a lot of problems with kind of racism and inequality in terms of race in London. And yeah, I think there are a lot of kind of really specific problems to London that mean that community organising is important. But there's also as well, there's a lot of, you know, really London is such an incredible place in terms of all the different people that exist here. So there's also some really great work in organising to be done around getting different community groups to understand one another and build relationships and learn about one another's religion or tradition or ethnicity or language. So I think there's also a lot of beauty in organising in London because of the amount of different people there are here.
Okay. The next one will be, where do you get the funding from? Or do you get any funding from the government?
So lots of our funding comes from members, and that for us is the kind of funding that we want, because it means that we are accountable to our members. It means that the members decide what it is that we do, and it's a more sustainable kind of funding model. But we do have to kind of top up the funding from lots of different places. So we get funding from, you know, like the big lottery and lots of different organizations that fund our work. We try to avoid government, like direct government funding, because we want to be able to hold the government to account.
Thank you. What is a manifesto? How do you arrive at it? And what do you use it for? When was the last manifesto you have done in London and national-wide?
So I can probably only talk about Southwark and London. So in Southwark, we had a manifesto, and it was basically, we listened to over 2,000 people, and then we came together and decided what the key issues were. We put that in a kind of shiny document with some pictures, and we presented it to Southwark Council and to our members as, I guess, our key areas and our priorities. And the manifesto for London is the same thing, but just bigger. So we talked to thousands of people and came up with these issues. We voted on them. We've done a lot of research, a lot of kind of storytelling around these issues. And then we once again bring it together in a shiny document. And that is what we are demanding from the mayor, is everything in our manifesto.
The next one will be, what is the greatest achievement you have had in Southwark and in London and national-wide as well?
Wow, that's a big question. I guess in terms of like reach and impact, the living wage campaign is our most successful thing nationwide. London, I couldn't say because I wasn't in the organisation in the last elections. And like I said, we had to postpone this assembly until the 28th of April. Get it in your diaries at 6 p.m. So I guess I will have to tell you that when we have our assembly with Mayor Sadiq Khan and Sean Bailey. And then locally, I mean, yes, the campaigns, but also I think what we've managed to build in Southwark. So, you know, increasing our membership. I think we recruited 8 new members in the last couple of years. I think the building up of leaders and the people who have kind of built relationships with one another and learned a lot through campaigns. And so I would say for me, that's kind of our biggest success, because it means that we have foundations to be able to take on whatever issues people care about.
what is the best way to bring the positive change?
So I think, following the community organizing methodology, but really every time coming back to each step and being like, okay, so I've listened. What do I need to do next? Now I need to plan. And then now I need to take action. And then so really following the community organizing methodology and not forgetting that relationships are the most important bit of community organizing. And that if you kind of skip steps, or if you try and get out of them, or if you try and make it quicker or streamline it, I think you'll find that it will fall apart quite quickly, or that it's quite fragile. So I would say really following those steps and really knowing who your target is, how much power they have, and how much power you have. I think that's something that's really important, is coming back to power, because ultimately if you want to make change, then you have to have the power to do it. But if you're not keeping an eye on your power and you think you have more power than you do, then you might find that actually you're not able to make the change that you want.
Okay, thank you. My last question would be, do you provide any course or training, and who can attend it?
Yes, so we do. So I offer kind of bespoke trainings for institutions. So I could come into an institution and do a training for a couple of hours. We offer 2-day training across South London. So we have those about 4 times a year, and anyone can come on them. You just need to speak to your teacher, and they can refer you on to the training. Then we have a 3-day training that costs £200 because you get a certification. And then we have a 6-day training that also costs £200 because of that certificate. And basically anyone can come on the 2-day training or the kind of local trainings. But to come on the regional or national training, you have to be really, really involved and really kind of using this to build up leaders within your institution and really kind of embedded into it.
Thank you very much for your time. My colleague Santos to continue with you.
Thank you.
Hello, Claire.
Hello, Pedro.
I'm Pedro. Thank you for attending this interview. My first question for you is, how do you make decisions about issues you work to resolve?
So we do it in a range of ways, but we will have what we call problem to issue workshops, where we will have done our listening first. So people will go out and ask a question, maybe what is putting pressure on you, your family, or your community. Then we get all of the listening, we bring them to a problem to issue workshop. And that is basically where we're taking all of the big problems that came out and we're starting to refine them, starting to dig into them a little bit, and starting to think about, okay, what's a thing that we could maybe do here with all of this listening? And then we'll have a kind of period of researching and understanding the issues more. And then we might have a delegates assembly or meeting where we vote on the top issues or top priorities. And then we might write them down in a manifesto.
Thank you for your answer. My second question is, do you have a board of trustees, and how does it work?
Yes. You're going to test me now. So we have our board of trustees, who are representatives from lots of different people within the community. And they basically hold us to account and ask questions and challenge us and make sure that everything is running smoothly in the organization.
Thank you. My next question is, who can be a member of your organization and how?
So if you are part of an institution and your institution joins in membership and pays an annual membership fee, then you are then a member of Citizens UK. We don't work with individuals, but it might be, so you can be a member, or it might be that you're a strategic partner. There are kind of different ways to join, but ultimately you have to be a part of Citizens UK and part of an institution to participate.
Thank you. What characteristics are necessary for a person to become a member of your team? And do you provide any training for staff?
I think to be a leader, one of the most important things is you have to be really angry about something and motivated to want to change it. Everything else you can learn. And ultimately, you have to know how to build relationships and how to bring people with you. And then you kind of learn the community organizing methodology through coming on our trainings, you really have to come to meetings, come to actions. Anytime there's an opportunity, you come to as many things as possible. And through that, you start to learn kind of what the community organizing methodology is, as well as doing the training. And then to be a community organizer, I think once again, you have to be angry, motivated. You have to really love people because you spend a lot of time with people. I think you have to be able to think about a lot of different things all at the same time. You have to be very organized. And ultimately, you have to know how to support people and how to develop people and yeah, you have to know how to relate to people.
Thank you. How can people contact you, or where can people find any information about community organizing and Citizen UK?
So people can go to our website, citizensuk.org, or you can type Citizens UK into Google and you will find us. People can get in contact with me by emailing me, claire.arkwright@citizensuk.org. They can contact any of the EFA teachers, and they can find Southwark Citizens on our website, and hopefully find my email address there. Yeah.
Thank you. My last question for you, I like this question. Could people in action be part of this alliance?
If you are a part of English for Action as People in Action or People for Action, then you are already members of Citizens UK. But if you are a separate organisation, you would have to find some money to join as a member of Southwark Citizens.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And let us know more about community organizing and Citizens UK. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Today, we have learned more about community organizing and how Citizens UK does it. Citizens UK is an alliance of hundreds of organizations like churches, schools, charities, and more. Citizens UK uses the method community organizing, in which the objective is to organize, train, and support people in a democratic way, to engage people with decision makers, to make changes and solve issues in their communities. Citizens UK, following this method, starting with thousands of people, making a plan, building relationships, taking action with campaigns, assemblies, meetings, courses, and prioritizing issues in our communities, voting on it, and making a document with their demands, the manifesto. Then it is delivered to a representative from the government to make them commit to resolving these problems. On 6 May there was a mayor of London election, and Citizens UK prepared a manifesto in an assembly with all the organizations together to show it to the first two candidates in London. On 28th April, in an assembly with more than 5,000 connected online, watching it and making them, Sadiq Khan and Sean Bailey, commit to take action on these issues and solving them. Because People in Action is part of Citizens UK. So this is our demands. First, number one, housing. Two, living wages. Three, welcoming and sanctuary. One commitment made by both candidates as part of this session was to create an insult website where people will be able to find all classes in London. 4, young safety, and 5, climate change. We, People in Action, want to make these 3 calls. First, sign our open letter to the Mayor of London, that at this moment we know is Sadiq Khan. And as well, we want to congratulate Sadiq Khan on being elected Mayor of London and asking him for the ESOL website to show your support for it. Even though the mayor had committed to creating it, we need to continue to gather public support to make sure that the promise is fulfilled. The link for the open letter is in the description. The second call to all these people who belong, work, or are part of any organization and are not affiliated with Citizens UK. Just motivate them to join it. Remember, together we are powerful. The third call is for the government or all those representatives who can make a change for the benefit of the communities to commit themselves for a fair and equal country resolving our demands. Remember, the image of the citizens reflects the image of the country. Together, we can make a better country. And thank you to all of our audience, and we see you in our next interview.